Okay, started that. Okay, we've got episode 5 here. Who am I sitting here with?
Brad Becca,
go.
owner of BB Athletics, content creator, athlete, family man, entrepreneur, lots of things.
Awesome. So let's start from day one. I've known Brad since, oh my gosh, I think I was in like 5th, 6th grade. Brad used to train me. Brad trained me, my little brother, my twin brother, my little sister. Brad has trained every generation of my family. So I know Brad very well. But let's start all the way back when me and Brad first met, or a little bit before. So let's talk about Brad's story. So where are you from, Brad? Let's touch from day one. Where are you from? Grow up. How are we here today?
So I am from the Valley, born and raised. I grew up in Martins Ferry, graduated in 2008, and then pursued going to school at Ohio University. So went down to OU. Got a bachelor's degree in communications, came back home and decided to work in the beer and wine industry. I got into that industry, did some sales with them.
Let's go.
But then, I didn't really feel fulfilled at all, venturing out and doing that career. So got into the gas and oil industry.
That's where I remember.
This is where Riley and I have we kind of met, and was at that time also pursuing going into fitness.
Yeah.
And so pursuing getting certified through the National Academy of Sports Medicine.
Yeah.
And then I started training at a local gym while also doing gas and oil. Working long hours of the day and grinding the fitness business on the side.
Okay,
and so that's when you and I...
Yeah, because we met, because I used to be an athlete, and at the gym that we trained at, I met Brad because he worked as a trainer. So you mentioned you had got into fitness while you were in gas and oil? You got into fitness then?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, walk through how you got into fitness, because I want to talk about that. So what got you into working out? Because you used to do the challenge at the Wellness Center, right?
Correct, yeah.
You got into Wellness Center challenges, and then so how, what made you get into fitness to then want to pursue that as what you wanted to do?
So it all stems from the drive to just become the best version of myself, and fitness was just one aspect of that, and it was one aspect that I could control, within my control, and so just knew that if I pursued fitness, ultimately I could develop my body to look a certain way, that I could be comfortable and be confident going out into the world. And so it just kind of stemmed from just wanting to pursue the best version of myself. Fitness was that avenue, something I was passionate about, something I enjoyed doing, and it just made me physically healthier and then mentally healthier as well too. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So you got into it, and it helped you, develop your mind. I always say, master your body, master your mind, master your life. You get into it, and you start getting these results. What made you, get these results with fitness? At what point did you decide that you wanted to make the jump from working in oil and gas to then go, pursue the fitness? So, what was that transformation like to be able to get that confidence? Be like, I want to help other people do this now.
Yeah. So it was a mixture of just the desire to exit that industry too.
Yeah.
I wasn't feeling fulfilled at all. I knew I needed to make a jump, and I knew that I needed to do it then.
Yeah.
Or now or never. Here, if you don't make a move now, you'll probably more than likely never do it. So I knew I needed to take action, and I just jumped right into the fitness space, and started just doing my thing in the industry and going from there.
So I remember, Brad came and we were working together at the gym. He was training me as an athlete at the gym. We were working together doing athletics. But I remember Brad was one of the first people around our area where we live to start posting fitness content. People would do their Facebook pages, but Brad was making content. I remember literally, I was in 5th grade, and Brad's making clips of me working out, posting to his page, posting it. I'd never seen anybody doing this. But so what made you start wanting to post fitness content? Where did you see that? Because people, you know what I mean? You were on it early. This is 6 years ago. I mean, what made you want to do that?
Yeah, so it's funny. I was never into social media growing up. I really didn't do much of it. But social media for me, at one point, I realized was a great opportunity and an avenue that nobody was really utilizing, especially early on.
Yeah.
And so that's when I kind of took advantage of that and jumped into that opportunity. And, it just was inspired by me wanting to share my journey and my passion and my trainings and my knowledge to more than just my circle. So like trying to extend my reach to as many people as possible. And so I knew social media was, heck, it's free. It's free. So if you're trying to market yourself and you're trying to, build an audience and build a community of people around you that, are also aligned with your goals and what you have going on, then social media is extremely important. So I knew I needed to utilize that avenue. And I just started off simple just by posting workouts at the gym, and then also the trainings that I was doing between me and Riley, and people resonated with it, and that was cool because then you start to be, you start to feel validated, you start to feel like you're providing value and you're providing worth, and so that's kind of just like how I dove into it, and just kind of how it's still a part of everything that I do. It's like the center of almost everything that I do.
100%, yeah, and that training and helping to share with other people, and something that you're big at sharing with is the recovery side of things, right? So I remember, you eventually transitioned into a lot of the recovery side of stuff. So we were working together all the time, and then you started really promoting some recovery, stuff you were doing at Thrive, and you transitioned into the recovery side of stuff. So walk me through kind of the transition from when you moved from kind of doing training in a gym to working with your own clients, and then transitioning more into the BB athletic side of things with Thrive and growing the social media on your own.
Yeah, it was a cool transition. So right around the time, again, I had met you, I started working at a place called Thrive in downtown Wheeling. And so I still am employed with them. I've been there for 5 years. Phenomenal place. The things that we are able to offer to the community as far as wellness services and things like that.
So what does Thrive do? Because I know Thrive. I was actually Thrive's on the first day Thrive Wheeling opened. I was a customer there at Thrive. So I was Brad. I've been known Brad since day one, but I've known Brad and Thrive since day one. So walk me through what Thrive does.
Yes, and actually you were the one who introduced me to Thrive, because I was training you. I was training you one day, and you'd mentioned that you were going to Thrive, and I'm like, what's Thrive? Maybe I should check it out.
I didn't even know that. So
you introduced me. Shout out to that.
Shit.
Yeah. So that transition was pretty cool, man. So. Just diving full force into what the wellness and the recovery aspect of this whole world looks like was very cool. I've had extensive experience with things like red light therapy, cryotherapy, flotation therapy, Normatec compression therapy, like lots of cool things, IVs, IMs, all that cool stuff. So lots of amazing things that are very important to overall health, and improving your overall health, not just your fitness. So just being able to be exposed to that and have that experience has been instrumental into like molding me into the trainer I am and the coach that I am, and what I prioritize as a coach, because the training part is super important. What you know that the training is extremely important, but your recovery and what you do outside of that is also extremely important too. Like, are you sleeping well? Are you nourishing your body? Are you hydrated? Are you managing your stress? How's your relationships with your family, or those types of things? It's all super important. And so I'm big on recovery, big on taking care of your body outside of the gym, because what you do outside of the gym is dramatically going to affect how you operate, how you perform inside the gym, and how you perform in life.
Yeah, 100%. Nutrition, I mean, you work out an hour a day, it's 7 hours a week, it's 168 hours. People say it's 80-20, it's actually 99-1. 99% nutrition and sleep, 1%.
Seriously,
literally,
it's very
mathematically,
important.
it's only 1%. So you're very lean. You're a very lean person.
Appreciate
you're
that.
extremely lean. So walk me through, because a lot of people don't realize you're extremely lean. Like, what's your body fat percentage? Very lean.
So the last time I had gotten on the shape scale at Thrive, I'll have to check. We'll bring it up. I think it was like
So, Brad is like so lean. Like you'll see Brad's post. If you go to his page, I mean, literally veins everywhere. And what I always say, like when someone's that lean, it's not necessarily about the muscle mass. It's about the leanness. Because everyone thinks they want to be huge, but they actually want to be lean. So how do you stay so lean? Like how do you do that? Because most people think they need to do all this bulking, but they probably just need to lose their body fat and reveal the muscle they actually have. So how do you stay lean?
Good question. So I will like to touch on the fact that when you are lean, you appear like you're a little bit bigger. So funny story. I was in Hilton Head a few years back, and these guys saw me on a bike. I was riding, and they stopped me and they asked if I was like, they're like, bro, what do? You're huge. You got to be like 195. Dude, I'm like 130 soaking wet, and I'm like not even close. But again, it just goes back to the fact that like when you are lean, when you have a low body fat percentage, all those muscles are going to pop. All those muscles are going to pop. So you're going to appear a lot bigger than what you actually are. So yeah, I'm a $135. So
Zac Efron in Baywatch is 160. Brad is 135. I'm 160, and everyone thinks I'm put on all this muscle. You need to get lean. You lose 10 pounds of body fat. You look 20 pounds bigger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I appreciate the fact that you acknowledge that, man. Yeah, I'm a small dude anyway, so it's not like I'm going to be a massive looking guy. I have a small little structure to me. But how to stay lean? It comes down to a combination of a lot of different things. One, your training program has got to be dialed in. You got to be disciplined. You got to add movement into your world every day. You have to focus on what you are eating, how much you're eating, the quality of the foods that you're eating. All that's super important. You need to be prioritizing sleep so that your body can actually rejuvenate and you can show up every single day and feel good and look good and perform good. You need to stay hydrated. So there's a lot of different things that go into how to stay lean. To me, it's just something that's so kind of ingrained in me. It's a lifestyle at this point, so it's not something I really have to. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's difficult staying disciplined and staying on your game, but like I said, it's just a lifestyle for me at this point.
And you hit on it. It's a lifestyle, right? Because there's a lot of things that everybody that I talk to that's in super great shape, they're always in great shape. And this is the biggest thing. The 90% of people that gain their weight back, right? They haven't made an identity shift in the way they do things. He just said it was a lifestyle thing, right? Intrinsically, when he says it's a lifestyle, there's probably so many things that he's doing every day. Of course he's walking. Of course when he goes to eat, he's not ordering mayonnaise and French fries. Of course he's not ordering these high-calorie foods. Of course he's being aware that he's drinking mainly water. Of course it's all these things that he's saying is things that are ingrained in his lifestyle. He doesn't do some 30-day shredderator. Like he just lives in a way that allows him to look that way, and that seems like it's just the way you live. You stay in lean, and let's break them down. So the training side of things, obviously if you want people to see your muscles, you got to have muscles. So what's your training like to be able to have a nice physique?
Right. What's my training like? My current training routine right now. So I got a few different goals that I'm going towards. At the moment, I actually am training for a half marathon in May.
Oh, let's go.
I'm gonna attempt to do the Ogden. I was a track and cross country runner back in high school. I don't know if you knew that about me, but that's sort of how my athletic background. So just this couple months ago, actually back in I believe December, I decided that I wanted to start incorporating endurance training back into my routine, going on long distance runs, training that way. So I've been doing that at least 3 to 4 times a week, staying consistent with that endurance type of training. Strength training is super important for me. Yeah. So I do lots of body weight strength training. You'll see me do lots of pull-ups, push-ups, muscle-ups, things like that to really get strong with my own body weight. That's another thing that I believe is super foundational, is before we even start to think about going into the gym and trying to lift crazy amounts of weight, why don't we master our own body weight? And that's something I've been a huge fan of, and that's something I incorporate in my training. It's calisthenics training, so just body weight training. mastering my own body weight. But I do lift weights.
Yeah.
I'll go in there and I'll get a nice strength training session in. I'm good for at least 1 or 2 of those a week.
Yeah.
So yeah, I at least try to sprint once a week as well too, because I think that there's nothing better that you can do as a human to just get out there and unleash it and just sprint and let loose. Seriously, like, because how many people, I mean, I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I'm 34 years old, so I'm no 20-year-old or 18-year-old athlete anymore, but it just feels good to be able to go out there at my age and just go and see what I got. So that's just kind of like what my training routine looks like. So just a mixture of endurance training, strength training. I do lots of plyometrics too. If you watch my videos, you're gonna see that, like, I do lots of like box jumps, fast twitch movements, footwork drills, things that really help build explosiveness and help me maintain the type 2 muscle fibers, because super important. You start to lose those as you age. So as you know, I continue aging. I kind of want to keep that power, and it's sort of been like a staple in my routine too. So yeah, that's sort of like what my week of training looks like. It's all over the place at this point because you know, having a career, a demanding career, and a family, I just get it in when I can. It's not like I have like a set time throughout the day. It's like, okay, I have a short window here. Let's go crush it.
100%. I guess I would say too, I always a lot of times hear with people that have done it for so long, everybody that's done it for so long, myself, you know, even Olympia level bodybuilders, they're following a program, but it's just not written down, right? So the most important part is people that are in shape, they're following a diet plan, they're following a meal plan, they're following a training plan, but they've just done it to the point where it's in their head, right? So like you heard Brad mention, he's got a couple sessions a week, he's got a set plan, but it's not necessarily just on paper. So for people that are starting, I guess I would say, like, how do you make time for that? Because you kind of know an idea. And what would you recommend for somebody who's maybe not as advanced, that like just kind of like needs to find that time? Like we mentioned some body weight. Like how do you work that in with your one-on-one coaching clients? Like people that you work with, because you work with people that are busy. We're all busy. You know, I guess how do you start? Like, you know, if you got no time and you don't know where to start, like what's the first steps we should take?
So the first steps I usually take with the clients who come to me and talk about having no time is acknowledging the fact that I understand them. I don't have time either, but my team and I will work with you when we work with one-on-one clients. We'll work with you and find time throughout your schedule to make it work. And it's not even necessarily when you're first starting about how many sessions we're trying to gather and put into your routine throughout the week. It's just, let's picking one day to start and do some movement during this time. So we're gonna ease our way into it, as opposed to throwing out and trying to do multiple sessions per week.
Yeah, and that's humongous. A lot of times you get, you know, that 0 to 100 mentality, but in reality is like, you know, you can take the highway, but you might crash. You know what I mean? If you take the scenic route, you can get there, you know, and you might have a better time getting there, and you're actually gonna get there, you know, 100%.
Right.
So I guess, like, you know, training obviously goes kind of hand in hand with nutrition. You can have all the best programs in the world, but if you're not eating right, it's really hard to look, you know, really, really good. So what are you eating in a day to stay like 5% body fat? Like, what, like, you know, I mean, like, because at the end of the day, it's probably not, you know, anything super bad. It's probably a lot of healthier foods. Like, what are you eating every day?
So believe it or not, I follow what I like to call the 80-20 rule, which is eating healthy foods 80% of the time and just kind of binging on whatever 20% of the time. And that's sort of how I have found it to be more sustainable for me. So I've tried every diet out there. And I know I'm going into your realm now, but like we talk about this all the time, is there are a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
And it can be extremely overwhelming when you're a newbie diving into this and you have nothing about it. What should I do? This diet over here, this diet over here, this diet. You just, you know, you get overwhelmed. So first and foremost, there's not a single diet out there that's going to be the best diet, because the perfect diet doesn't exist. You have to find out what works for you. And it's super, super important. So again, going back to what you were talking about, what do I do to stay lean is follow the 80-20 rule. So in my world, it's difficult to eat good foods 100% of the time. It's just impossible. I have a family, I have a daughter, I have a family, and it's just, I have a busy life. It's challenging. So 80% of the time I'm eating whole foods, minimally processed foods. So what I would typically do, if I'm going to walk you through like how I would eat throughout the day, would wake up and first and foremost I would smash a kinetic, so get some ketones in my body.
And what kind of water am I drinking?
So you're drinking it's a 7-stage filtration system with MitoLife. So it's pretty pure water. It's been completely purified and filtered and then remineralized. So it's some pretty good water.
So you're staying hydrated.
So I'm staying hydrated with, good water. I try to eat light in the mornings.
Yeah.
So usually it consists of like a banana or some eggs, maybe some yogurt, fruit, things like that. Starting it right. Yeah, something light. Sticking with, like I said, quality whole foods. So
what's your protein like? So what do you get for protein? So you mentioned some eggs. I mean, are you eating meats? Do you supplement with some protein? Like, how do you? A lot of people don't eat enough protein. How do you get?
It's
protein?
a struggle.
What do you do for that?
It's a struggle. So prioritizing protein is what I like to preach, and what I like to implement into my own routine is like eggs. Prioritizing those in the morning. I usually start off with a couple eggs. I'm a big fan of cottage cheese. I can slam some cottage cheese. Yeah, nice. Protein shakes are super handy for me too. Yeah. So I'm usually slamming like 2 of those a day, at least. Nice. Beef, a lot of meats. Nice. Chicken.
Meats.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you're getting a lot of your carbs in through fruits, vegetables, or whatever. Do you eat much vegetables? Much? Maybe I like a lot of times fruits are awesome because they taste good.
Right.
Bananas. You mentioned other fruits. You're getting your meat, your protein in with some supplements, some really lean, supplements. You're getting in with the meat, chicken, eggs. Do you supplement at all with any supplements?
I do supplement. Yeah, I do actually. And so supplementation is one of those things that, especially in this industry, I feel like a lot of coaches are either all for it or they're completely against it. Yeah. I'm actually a believer in supplements, so I do supplement with like creatine, protein, whey protein. I do also, have you ever heard of Shilajit?
It's a mushroom, right?
So it is actually, basically like it has tons of minerals. I believe it's like 70 plus minerals. So it's like almost like my multi-mineral.
Oh, cool, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so stuff like that. I just try to maximize. I believe that in today's day and age, ideally, we would want to get all of our nutrition from foods. We would want to. Yeah. Obviously, that's the goal, right?
Yeah, for sure. You want to eat a nice balanced diet. Yeah.
Exactly. Awesome. Yeah. And supplements are only there to help supplement an already existing. Right. Yeah. An already existing good diet. Yeah. In a realistic world, but it's tough because our food supply nowadays has been tampered with so much. Yeah. And so the nutrient profile of our foods nowadays isn't what it was many, many, many years ago.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's where I think that supplementation is critical almost, because we can start to push our bodies to becoming more nourished with food. Yes. As opposed to just relying on food alone, which again is not as nutrient dense as it used to be. For sure. So you also said something, or not necessarily said something, but you didn't say something that I think is super important. So he mentioned he's eating meats and vegetables and fruit, and he's drinking water, and he's taking some supplements. But what he didn't mention is he isn't drinking calories or putting a bunch of sauces on his food. And this is something that I always see people do. They're drinking a ton of calories, whether it's soda or juices or whatever. If he's drinking some protein shakes, that's great. But he's not drinking sodas or even like Gatorades. He's not putting mayo on his stuff. So like, walk me through like,
do you drink much calories? There's a lot of times it's water, and it's food. It's not additives and extra calories. There's not much extra calories in your day. So when you do decide to go to that 20%, you're actually able to enjoy that because you're not putting your 20% as a sauce on the 80%.
You nailed it. Yeah, you definitely nailed it. So like drinking your calories, that adds up.
Yes.
100% adds up. So yeah, I'm actually really, really bland, and honestly, I could drink water every day.
Yes.
And it not really get boring to me. I don't know. It's just maybe I'm weird like that, but
you're not weird.
But yeah, I just stick with water, my man. Yeah, I just kind of do water and
let's go. I love
maybe some orange juice and some fruit juices and things like that every now and then, but nothing crazy.
Eating healthy foods, right? Because he said 80-20, right? So the 80% is it's business versus fun, right? 80% business, 20% fun. So when you have 20%, what are you going for when you go to 20% though? What's the go-to though when you do want to enjoy yourself?
Ooh, dude, sweets, man. I can do some sweets.
Yeah.
Like if there are some cookies around, or if someone made some brownies or something like that. I'm a sucker for those.
I think this
I'm a sucker for that.
I think this is a key point too. You mentioned if it's around. Do you keep a bunch of that stuff in your house?
No, and so you touched on a good point. So like the thing is, when you're trying to create good habits, one thing I always teach my clients is don't have any of that around, because if it's not around you, you're not going to be inclined to go for it in the cabinet or reach for it in the pantry. So just get rid of all that. Start then putting healthier options in your environment, so that way when you are, feeling like you need a snack at night, you're reaching for an apple instead of a brownie that's in the pantry. Or like a little Debbie cake up there or whatever.
Yeah. And you're a family guy. You got kids, right?
Correct.
And I always say this. I have no kids. I'm 20 years old. Trust me, I'm no good. But I always like when I have a girlfriend or whatever it is, or want to go on a date. What I always notice about people who don't keep that stuff in their house is when you do enjoy it, you go out to get it. But as a family guy, when you probably do go get cookies, you can turn it into a nice treat with your family, right?
100%.
So you're able to turn, you're eating really healthy throughout the day, but when you do want to enjoy yourself, what turns from a late night binge that you feel guilty about can turn into a time to spend quality time with your family and actually work in your healthy lifestyle with your family and actually contribute to your family as well.
100%. It's all about balance. It really is.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you mentioned that, because last week, my family and I went up to the Highlands and we ate dinner up at the Olive Garden.
Yeah.
And then afterwards we went to Cold Stone and crushed some ice cream. So like having the ability to do that, and then also like that's what I preach too, is like we can enjoy ourselves, we can live life, we can go out to eat and do all those good things, but let's be disciplined and be consistent with your nutrition and all of that stuff a large majority of the time, so that you can enjoy those things every now and then.
Yeah. I mean, that's humongous, because a lot of times, especially, and think about this, somebody who's 5% body fat, like as lean, I mean, pretty much as lean as you can realistically get, like, period. Without extra, supplements, really extra supplements. And he's saying he's going out to Olive Garden, he's doing ice cream. It's not about, you don't have to be David Goggins. You can just enjoy yourself sometimes, and just 80% of the time, just be like, okay, I'm eating this. But then he's not tempted. He doesn't sit in front of the cookies every day and say, no, I'm not going to eat you. It's not even an option, right?
Right.
I understand. And it's, like I said, building those good habits.
Yeah.
Right? So we've talked about the training, right? You're on it with the training, body weight, endurance, food-wise, 80-20 rule. We're eating majority healthy foods, fruits, meats, and then we're a little bit of supplements. We're enjoying ourselves when we can, because at the end of the day, we're all human. With the recovery side of stuff, how's your sleep? I mean, you sleep well, you're doing all, I mean, how is that side? Talk me through that.
So right now I'm sleeping pretty well.
Yeah.
Having a child is always difficult. She's usually, jumping in our bed 2:00 in the morning. I would say 4 to 5 nights every week. So your sleep is a little bit disrupted. And coming here soon, in about a month, 2 months from now, I'll have my second child. And so
Oh yeah.
the beginning stage, the stage of that, being a parent, is you're hardly getting any sleep. So I know my sleep is about to be dramatically affected and impacted. But as of right now, typically I'm sleeping, I prioritize sleep, so at least 7, 8, 9 hours a night. Again, it's difficult. It doesn't always look perfect, especially when you have kids. But I'm mindful about it. Like we have a bedtime. We know when we're going to sleep, and we know when we have to get up. And so it's something that's on our radar, something we prioritize because it's super important. If you're not sleeping, everyone has experienced this. If you're not sleeping, you're not the person that you should be, right? Because like we all have felt great after a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
We've all felt crappy after having a bad night's sleep. So sleep's super important. I prioritize it. I use the Oura Ring to track my sleep. So it's on my finger right here. And so it tracks my sleep and then sends it to an app on my phone so I can see how much sleep I'm getting, the quality of sleep I'm getting. So super cool.
So you mentioned you track your sleep. I am mad at myself for not mentioning this. Do you track what you eat?
Believe it or not, no.
No.
I do not track. I personally do not track what I eat. I have my clients track what I eat. So I am not the person that practices what they preach when it comes to that thing.
But it's working. He's 5% body fat, so don't it's working.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Don't think if you're struggling with your weight, don't think, oh, Brad, he's 5% body fat. Okay, so hear him out.
Yeah, so it's important when you're getting into fitness and you're trying to adopt these healthy, things, these healthy habits, that you track what you're doing. Yeah. So that's why I encourage my clients, track what you're eating. That way it's on your radar, what you're eating, how much you're eating, and you can start to get in the mind of adopting that as a habit. So I don't personally do that because it's kind of already ingrained in me at this point.
He's tracking it automatically, guys. Like, he's tracking what he eats, but he's not putting it in a system to visually see it. He's been 5% body fat for 10 years. You've been working out forever. I've known him for 6 years. He's been lean for 6, 7 years. He's tracking what he eats. He understands what's going in. He probably has an idea of the calories anyway, so he's probably monitoring it, automatically in his brain. He has an idea. When he goes to a restaurant, I guarantee he looks at the calories. He's not picking the thing with 2,000 calories. He's tracking it, but he's got it to a point where he has the habit of just being mindful, being conscious. He understands what's going on in his body, and he's super mindful of it all the time. So it's something that he's already making the healthy choice anyway, and he's not going to overeat on. He's not going to, get fat on lean meats, fruits, water. It's not going to happen. So that's why he's able to do that, because he's prioritizing healthy, whole foods and
healthy options.
Yeah,
that's all there is to it. And people ask me all the time, what it is you do to stay lean. It's just like I told you, it's a mixture. It's a combination of a lot of different things, and diet being super, super important.
Yeah, 100%. Awesome. So we talked about recovery, diet. We talked about sleep, healthy habits, healthy lifestyle, and we talked about getting into fitness when Brad started with Thrive. So let's keep on going with Brad's story. How did you kind of transition a little bit? Sorry. I can just clip it. And now that we've already started with the clipping, it's just going to be edited in.
Let's go.
So how did you transition, right, working at Thrive, and you started doing your own personal clients? Walk me through building the social media up to 600,000 followers right now, almost at 700. You're getting close to 700, right?
Across all platforms.
Millions,
I would say
bajillions.
over 700,000.
Yeah. So building the social medias and building the in-person clients, and then eventually building the coaching. Walk me through the process of building that up, and like the grind and the discipline and building the content.
Full-time job.
Yeah.
Definitely a full-time job doing this, especially because I am the one that goes out there and films the content, edits the content, uploads the content. So I'm involved in the content creation process entirely. That's a job in itself. And then managing social media, interacting with my community, engaging with my audience, staying up to date on what my network is doing, and engaging with other creators and athletes and coaches out there. It's a full-time job.
Yeah.
And I'm doing all that as well. Actually, I do have a VA that works for me now, so she
so
handles
strong.
all the media and other things like that. But yeah, man, it's been a grind. It's been such a awesome experience utilizing social media to help me grow and build my brand. It's been an awesome experience. What were we talking about? Dude, I start talking sometimes and it's like I just go.
I'm a rambler. So yeah.
We'll
So
have to cut that. But
yeah, it's whatever.
right.
So you're talking about building content.
building the business.
Yeah, 100%. So awesome. So you've been building the content up, building it up. It's been a serious process. And you mentioned it was a full-time job, right? And so walk me through kind of like, how do you kind of like, what makes a really good post? Like you've had some posts that did really well. Like what goes into a good post? How do you figure out what people like, don't like? And like, how do you go in like into the creating side?
It's tough. It's tough navigating that world because you always have to remain authentic to yourself and post things that are authentic to you. But you also want to make sure that you are posting things that connect you and your message to your audience, whether that be a workout, whether that be a message, whether that be whatever. And so, yeah, it's just that whole process of creating and doing, fuck dude, I lost it again. Fucking.
Yeah, so I'm going to pick up, you said creating. So when you said creating, it's going to cut there. So yeah, creating the content, you put the content out, and you mentioned connecting with people and making stuff that's true to yourself too, because a lot of times you see people will really try to force what they're saying, and I struggle with this too, to want to like force yourself. But what I've found is a lot of times, even though, you know what I mean, my page is not very big, I just try to connect with the people I have, because for me, when I look at it, you know what I mean, Brad's got a huge page, he's connected with so many people. For me, a smaller guy, I'm like, if I see 100 people, I always try to imagine 100 people in a room, real people that I'm talking to that are seeing my videos and trying to connect with. It's like, I just want to help these people. So you're posting athletic stuff, you're posting nutrition, recovery. You know, how big is like just being authentic, you know, a part of your content, posting the family stuff, connecting and just being, hey, I'm a guy that works out and here's how I do it. You know, how big is like, how, you know what I mean? What's that like?
It's big. It's big. You know, the message I try to convey in the content that I create is that I am a family man. 2, I am very passionate about fitness. 3, I am a coach. I'm a creator. And then I'm also an athlete as well. So I like to, you know, encompass all of that in my content. And you know, the message is pretty simple that I want to convey is just like, health is wealth.
Yeah.
You know, fitness is super important. Taking care of your body is super important. And I want to show you how I do it as a dad, as a busy entrepreneur, as a, you know, man of lots of different things. So
How do you, I guess this one thing, you've been posting for like 6 years now. How important, how do you stay consistent? Because this is something that I've struggled with, because like you said, it's a full-time job, especially if you're a fitness guy and you're taking on clients, you actually have to fulfill on things, you have obligations. What's your routine like to be able to actually output consistent content, but also output consistently good content?
yes, you have to ingrain just the whole content creation process into your already existing lifestyle, right? So like the thing is you're already going to the gym to work out, right? So then take your phone and take your tripod and just film yourself doing a few exercises, and there's your post.
Sam Sulek, he just filmed himself lifting for 2 years and
That's
6
it.
million. He just did same stuff.
That's it. So
Wow.
ingrain the process into your lifestyle, or you're already going to connect with a client on Zoom for a check-in call. Film it. You have some content. So, and just ingrain that type of stuff into your routine, or you're going to train a client, film it. Just ingrain the process of content creation into your day-to-day. Or for me, sometimes I want to highlight and capture moments of my family. So we went to the Festival of Lights this past Christmas, and took the camera up there and just filmed the whole process of what that looked like. So
Yeah.
just kind of developed like I said, just developed the process, the content creation process, and ingrained it into my life.
100%. In the same way you had mentioned earlier with fitness, it's like a learning process. You started somewhere and you kept growing. How much have you seen, your own creative ability, like through your content? How much has your content creation grown as you've done it for so long?
Oh, it's grown a lot.
Yeah.
So if you scroll back through my Instagram or my Facebook, you'll see the evolution of how my content is kind of taken. But yeah, you know this as well as I do. When you're trying to master any craft, you start somewhere, and then the more you do it, the more you learn, and the more you fail, and then the more you learn, and so you just keep evolving and leveling up. And so, yeah, just if you're not in the mindset of having that growth mindset and being comfortable with failing, you won't be successful, and you won't. So, super important.
Yeah, he mentioned something that's super important. He mentioned failing, right? Like, everybody that I've ever talked to has done anything ever successful. This guy's got a million followers, like 1 million followers all across from him. He's talking about he failed. At one point, I guarantee you, somebody has made fun of him. I guarantee you somebody said something negative. I guarantee you in the comments there's somebody negative. You're going to make something. You're going to be embarrassed about it when you look back at it. I'm embarrassed about videos I posted last week. So it's like he said he's willing to fail. He's willing to look, to be embarrassed about something. He's willing to be able to just take the failure and grow from it. How big is what's it like for you to deal with like hate from people? What's it like to deal with the negativity? How do you block that out? Because social media is huge. How do you block that out and learn from the failure and just stay positive and consistent and don't let yourself get down when it comes to being consistent every day?
That's an awesome question.
Yeah.
That's a really good question, because when you start to open yourself up and use social media the way that I use it, you are going to get a lot of hate. You are going to get a lot of negativity thrown your way, and that's just the nature of social media. And it's unfortunate that it is that way, but for me, the approach I like to take is I'm going to be using social media in a way to be positive and create positive change and to inspire someone and to motivate. So you'll never see me actually ever hating on a specific post or giving it a thumbs down or whatever. I'm just not that type of person.
Yeah.
I'm using it all in a positive way to build community. But I acknowledge that not everyone is like me, and there are people who use social media as a way to hate and throw negativity. But at this stage in the game, I recognize that those types of people, I usually don't like to take anything personal at that point. Yeah. Because I can acknowledge the fact that that individual might be going through some things that, for reasonings of why they want to, be hateful and throw bad comments out at people. So I just kind of acknowledge that people are the way that they are, and that's just how it is, and you just gotta have blinders on, man. You gotta have blinders. Like when you're doing something that lots of people they can't see your vision, and they can't really understand what you're doing, of course you're gonna get a lot of hate. Yeah. Of course you're gonna get a lot of negativity thrown your way. So as long as you stay true to your mission and your focus and you're motivated and you know you're going to succeed, that other stuff is outside is noise. Just noise.
That's 100%. And here's something I'll just say. I guarantee you, if you would go on some of Brad's posts and look for a negative comment, go click on the guy that commented. I guarantee you he doesn't have more followers. I guarantee you he's not as successful. I guarantee it. Nobody that I've ever seen hating, like, you don't hate. You don't hate down. Nobody hates down. They hate up because they're jealous. It's easy for let's take me for example. I have 2,000 followers, and they're all people I know. It's easy for me to look at that. I'm jealous. I'm jealous of the followers. I'm jealous of the success. But at the end of the day, nobody's jealous of the work you had to do. Nobody's jealous of that. So it's like understanding, like, you're putting in the work, you're going to deserve it. And hate is a requirement. If you want to get 600,000 followers and you want to get a huge community of people that are supporting you, the more people that know you, the more chance people have to disagree with the viewpoint you have, and he's staying true to himself. So the people that do follow him, he knows are in tune with his message. So how important has that been as you grow to just stay authentic and not have to put on an act like some people do?
Well, it's kind of easier now.
Yeah.
The older I get, the wiser I get,
Yeah.
sort of the less I care about like what other people think, so to speak. And so it's just a lot easier to really connect with myself now at this point, to really post things that I resonate with.
Yeah.
Not necessarily looking at, well, I am necessarily looking at how that's going to resonate with other people, but like more so just using my platform to post the things that I want to post that I think are going to be the most valuable, and I think are going to be the most influential and make the most positive impact.
100%, 100%. At the end of the day, like, fitness is growing, people are working out, and at the end of the day, like, fitness is supposed to be, I mean, it's all about self-improvement.
Uplifting community, right? We shouldn't be bashing each other. We should be promoting a healthy culture, and a healthy culture of healthy people, or people who are positive and people who lift each other up, not people who hate on each other. That's not healthy.
Yeah. So you mentioned not being around, not listening to the people that hate on you on social media, but how do you in your own personal environment, what's your circle like to surround yourself to actually be the person who can put the blinders on? I mean, I would not imagine that Brad's someone who hangs around with people who constantly hate on him all the time and say social media is not good, you shouldn't do that. I guarantee you don't. He didn't build his social media, he didn't build his following by surrounding himself with people who didn't support him. You know what I mean? So what's it been like to surround yourself with your family, people who are supporting you, people who are on a mission? Like, how impactful has that been for you to be able to put the blinders on and not listen to the outside, your environment, your surroundings?
It's extremely important. Your environment plays a big role in your day-to-day thought process, and even your actions. And so who you surround yourself with, what you surround yourself with, is extremely important. You want to make sure that the things you do surround yourself with are aligned with your mission. So like what you want to accomplish, the goals you have, the impact you want to create. We had talked about this earlier. Anything else that doesn't align with your mission or is just essentially just noise, eliminate it. And keep your surroundings, keep your environment as clean and as pure and as positive as possible, because it's extremely important.
Yeah.
So, you touched it. Just surrounding myself with my family, my friends, the people who do support me, and other coaches, people like you. Very, very important.
That's good. So you talked a little bit, you mentioned a few times the mission, like what are we trying to do? Who are we trying to be? So I guess I'd ask too, like, what is, what is your mission with the content you're going to try to produce? What is your mission with BB Athletics? But then what's your mission like as a person? So let's start with, what's your mission with BB Athletics? What's the vision? What's the drive? What are we trying to do?
My mission with BB Athletics is to create a culture, is to create a brand that encompasses longevity, health, and performance for life. So I work with athletes, entrepreneurs, coaches, everyday individuals to help them perform at a high level, to help them become the best versions of themselves. So longevity and performance for life is essentially like my mission when it comes to BB Athletics. And I like to instill my own mission into BB Athletics too. So when it comes to like my own mission and how I want to navigate life is just, one, I want to live for a long time.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to perform for a long time. So what does that look like? Just being able to show up for my family every day, being able to show up for my career every day, being able to perform in life, play with my children, be there for my children. And so, that's been my mission and my drive behind not only myself, but even just BB Athletics as a whole.
100%, and that's huge. Like he talks about performing for life. right? When we talk about being an athlete's someone who trains for a specific event. You train for football, you get better at football. You train for soccer, you get better at soccer. You bodybuild, you want to be on stage. But if you're living life is your sport. You want to be the best you can at life. So the vehicle in which you perform life in and the mind in which you perform every task you've ever done with, wouldn't you want that to be the best? And right here, your goal is to optimize the vehicle in which everyday individuals perform their sport, because they're an athlete, the sport of life.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
So I guess what I'd say too, like, what's the personal mission? Like, what's your mission, like, as a father? What's your mission is like personally? Like, what is your goal with like the personal side of things?
My goal is to obviously continue evolving into the best version of myself, so that then can trickle out into how I impact the world around me, how I impact your life, how I impact her life, how I impact my client's life, how I impact my family's lives. And so just being the best version of me and just relentlessly pursuing that is my drive and my focus. Ultimately, just looking to be a role model for my children, looking to be that individual that they look up to is like, well, you know what, Daddy chased his dreams and look what he was able to accomplish, or look at Daddy, he took care of himself, and look how he's able to play with us, he's able to kick around a soccer ball with us. And so that's sort of, my overall goal and my mission with all of this is just how can I become the best version of myself so that I can ultimately show up every day of life and give everything I got to my family, my career, and the people around me.
I love it. I love it. He mentioned something there. He mentioned he wants to be a role model for his children with their health. I can attest to this, right? I don't have kids, but I got into fitness because of my mom, actually, right? When I was younger, I was overweight, but my mom had been working out her whole life. I actually developed fitness and got into fitness because of my mom. She was super into fitness, and she showed me her DVD workouts, and I got into fitness, and that spiraled into me being all-state high school D1 football player, going into now I'm wanting to do fitness now. So because of my mom's parental guidance and her, setting an example, it snowballed into me wanting to do fitness. And he's talking about he wants to set that example, and you never know, be that positive example. And all it took was my mom to hand me a CD one day, because I said, we were talking, she's like, why don't you work out? Hands me a CD, because she was setting that example, and it snowballed into me, fitness is what I want to do with my life now, because that one example my mom set, you're setting that example. 100%. No, I mission a little bit. When you want like people to think of like Brad Becca, like if you had to, walk up to yourself, and look at your life, like what would you want, people to think of when they thought about like Brad Becca? What do you want to be remembered for?
So I would say that I would want to be remembered for somebody who showed up, worked hard, made a positive impact, and helped people not just in fitness, but in life.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I guess I would say too, when you look at like your life and what you've like been through, going from, different industries, just growing and evolving, going from oil and gas to, working on the pipeline, some people might never get out of that. That might be their lives, but turning that into a brand, being a father, being able to be with their kids, setting an example. Like if you could go back and tell, yourself, give yourself advice, your younger self, like what would you tell, Brad? Would you tell him to just do exactly what he's doing because you're in a good spot? Or what would you tell him maybe if, where are some places that you need some guidance? Like what would you tell him?
The biggest thing I would tell myself is to take action. And the biggest risk that you would take is the risk that you aren't taking. So the things that you're afraid to do them. Because there might be a point in time where you're going to look back and regret not having acted on that decision. So that's what I would probably mention and talk about with, if I had to go back in time and mention it to my younger self, is just do it.
Do it. Just do it, Nike.
Just do it, Nike, yeah.
Just do it, Nike. So I guess I would say, too, you would tell yourself, just do it. What's the best piece of advice that you've received in your life from somebody else? If you had to think of a piece of advice that's like, or maybe even a mentor that's impacted your life most, like, what is that, like, the biggest impact that you've had as a result of somebody else's guidance, maybe?
So that was a tough one. I don't have a specific person that I remember this quote from.
Okay.
However, there is something that stands out in my mind, and it's the quote that your potential is only as big as the risks you're willing to take. And I kind of touched on that a little bit. So you're never going to reach your potential. You're never going to reach your best self unless you're willing to take a risk, unless you're willing to do something new, try something new, become someone new. So the potential is limitless if you're willing to take the risks.
100%. Take the risk, and at the end of the day, I always say that there's a double guarantee. You know what I mean? You're guaranteed to not get somewhere. If you're not happy with where you're at, if you're not happy with what's going on, you don't do anything. There's a guarantee right there. You're guaranteed to not have what you want. But whatever it is that you might want to do, would you rather have a guaranteed loss or a chance at a win? And at the end of the day, like Brad said, he wasn't fulfilled where he was at. He wasn't fulfilled in the job. He was guaranteed a loss. If he stayed there, he was guaranteed something he didn't want. But by taking the risk and having a shot at success, if you are guaranteed a shot and there is nothing else, you're guaranteed to go back to something you don't want. Me and Brad were talking earlier today, right before this podcast. He was like, if there's no other way, it's going to work. It's going to work or it's going to work. And at the end of the day, I'm sure Brad wasn't like, maybe I'll go back to the pipeline. Maybe I'll go back to selling beer. No, like, he did the content, he did the thing, and he did it because he's got a family to provide for. He's got to be an example. He's got to be somebody. He's got to mold himself and step into the identity that he's now basically said, I have to become this person, or I have to become this person. That's it. There's no other way. He's not going to go back to where he was because you have to when you're taking that risk, you create a person and you have to go step into that identity, or you know what I mean? It's no other way. It's not a or, if, maybe, but, you know what I mean? It's now. And that's what he did, and he stepped into it, and he did it. So I guess I would say too, like, what would you say is, like, pushing forward into the future of, like, taking the risk? Like, what's the next big thing you're trying to do, like, with everything? What's the next big project? You got coaching business that you're building. Is that the next thing you're trying to build? You've had some serious names in terms of clients and stuff. Like, is that the next big thing? Is really building the coaching lifestyle side of BB Athletics?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say so. So I've been super grateful for the opportunity to connect and work with a lot of brands, big brands in the industry because of social media.
Yeah.
And so as I continue to do that avenue, I guess the big focus for me this year is the whole coaching. And so building my community and building people that I'm working with, not just locally, but worldwide with my online coaching is going to be a big focus for me this year. Another big focus for me this year is building the youth program that we have going on currently, offered at Lindsley, and that's been a big success so far. So really looking forward to building that out. There's a lot of very good minds involved in that opportunity, and a lot of good people involved in that opportunity, and seeing the potential for that to become what everyone wants it to become is really, really cool. And so that's going to be a big focus of mine this year. Building out that program, giving back to the youth. I started training you when you were young, and
he trains my little sister right now. My little sister Madison goes to the youth program. He trained me. He's trained my twin brother,
whole family.
Preston. He's probably going to end up, training
train
my
your
parents,
kids or whatever.
my kids, everybody. The Watkins family has been, trained by Brad, Becca through and through. So yeah, obviously, moving things forward, with the youth program, with the coaching, with the social media, pushing. I guess I will say, I personally want to know what's been the biggest transition moving from working with brands to your own brand and really trying to grow your own brand. What's that transition been like from, producing content to obviously for other people, but also now transitioning to being that business owner, that entrepreneur, that coach, and you being the brand behind, what you're trying to do with the content. What's that transition been like?
It's been a cool transition. It's been really cool. as I started working with sponsors and working with brands, obviously they want to see your content and you in their gear, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So just learning how to incorporate that into my daily content and not make it look like it's too overly done or too salesy or whatever. Just including it seamlessly into my content. But now focusing on just me being the brand and
About like the content, weave the content, or weave the brand into the content, not necessarily trying to pitch people all day, but also at the same time understand that you work with some other brands, but now you're the brand, you're the business behind this. You're building this coaching business where you have a business where you help other people, you're able to serve other people with the knowledge that you've had. What's it been like being able to, obviously content's a full-time job. How do you make that time to really fulfill for your clients, to really just make sure you give them and get them those great results, helping them transition into this healthy lifestyle?
How do I make time for my clients? I simply carve out a section each and every day to connect with who I'm working with.
Wow.
And so a big thing in my program is communication, support, accountability.
Yeah.
Those things are massively important when it comes to the results you get. And so it's something that I prioritize. So I will carve out a section of the day where I will make a conscious effort to reach out and connect with my clients.
That's huge, 100%, because at the end of the day, you can have the best program, the best nutrition in the world, you can have the most amazing plan in the world, but if you only do it for one day, it's not going to work. If you don't do it long term, it's not going to work. You can have the best diet in the world, but if you fall off, it doesn't matter. You can have the best anything. That's huge, you know what I mean? So having that accountability, you can see why people are getting results. You can see why people get results when they work with you, because it's not, here's a plan, it's let's actually have a system, you know what I mean?
Here's a system.
Skip the
right.
best work, skip the guesswork, get to the best work.
Right.
100%.
I like that.
That's a good one. Yeah, I always use that.
I like that.
But so I guess I would say, with social media, as a part of building the brand, what's been some of the coolest moments you've been able to be a part of as a result of, having a brand and a business and all this?
Dude, social media has been an awesome opportunity for me, one, to connect and work with some amazing brands in the industry. That's been an extremely cool part about social media, connecting with not only brands, but individuals out there. I've had the opportunity to, in the DMs, connect and chat with some pretty cool people. So, some actors and celebrities and professional athletes, and it's just been cool. So it's given me that opportunity to reach and connect to people that, I wouldn't have been able to do so if I wasn't utilizing social media. So huge part in my business, and
100%. I guess I got a fun question. Explain to everyone your tattoos, because this guy's got some sick tattoos. He's 5% body fat. He's got these tattoos, and they're sick.
Yeah, man.
Walk through. Because this obviously is going to be something important that's about your life. You see faith.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, walk through, because that's a part of you that's going to help people understand, like,
Absolutely.
It's on your body. You know what I mean? It's important.
Right. So, first and foremost, I have my daughter's name right here across my arm. Then each and every piece kind of symbolizes something unique in my life.
Yeah.
Like, so this piece right here, it reads faith, and then upside down it also reads hope. So
that's cool.
At that point in my life is like that's exactly what I needed is faith and hope, and I remember just
it's amazing.
It being a significant part of my life. And then, for instance, this one is the date of my grandpap when he passed away. So all my tattoos,
You can always learn something about someone with their tattoos, because they're usually something meaningful or not. But a lot of times, those ones you can tell are meaningful, they're important, and you can understand that everything you just talked about, it's true, right? It's a part of him. It's a part of his daily life, and You know, you can see he's just living it out every single day, and just sharing that message with everybody. So I guess I would say there's a couple ways you're going to be able to find Brad. Okay, so Brad's in the local High Valley area. If you're a local High Valley, whatever, if you're watching this, I guarantee you are, because my channel's not that big. But maybe one day it'll be bigger. But for now, you're a local High Valley, you live in the High Valley, but you work with people in the High Valley, right? So you do work with people. So if you're in the High Valley, you're going to be able to connect with Brad. You do in-person training. You train my little brother. You do group training at Lindsley. You do obviously like sessions, stuff like that, you know, with different people. But then where can we connect with you at? So how are we going to find you on social media?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on TikTok. And all you'll have to do is type in Brad J. Becca, BradJBecca. You'll type this out in captions probably.
100%.
And yeah, you'll find me on those socials. You can visit my website, bradbecca.com. You can also visit bradbeccaathletics.com, where you can look at all of the programs and packages I offer that you can do online. And so, yeah, that's where you can find me. And then you'll find me right here in Wheeling, West Virginia.
Let's go. So you mentioned we can find you on social media. Instagram seems to be the one that like a lot of people will go to. Instagram is a good one to connect. So you obviously you work with one-on-one coach clients, right?
Correct.
So you have in his Instagram, if you go to his link in the bio, you can click his link tree, and in that link in the bio, if I wanted to work with you as a one-on-one coaching client, do I go to your Instagram and I click out the form? How do I if I want to work with you, how do I do that?
So if you want to work with me directly, your best bet is to go to one of my socials and directly message me.
Okay. If you have an application I could fill out?
I do have an application. Okay. If you did want to fill out an application to work with me directly, you could go to my link tree, click that link, and then apply for one-on-one coaching. Basically going to ask you a series of questions that allow me to understand where you're at in your journey and to see how I can possibly help. Then we would then jump on a call. You would connect with me face to face. We would talk about your goals, break down your current situation, and explore how my team and I can help you take your health and fitness to the next level. So it's a very smooth process behind getting to work with me one-on-one. And so that's the way I like to keep it too, because I like to keep the process personal, where I get to connect with you and you can actually get to meet me face to face. And so, yeah, that's what sort of the process looks like behind getting to work with me one-on-one.
Amazing. So is there anything else that you have for any of the audience? We can find you there, connect with you. Is there any last thing that you'd like to give advice to? Anything at all that you could say it's like the parting message? I don't know, maybe not. No, we've hit everything. We've hit
everything, yeah.
We've hit motivation. I mean, we've hit everything, and you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's all going to come together, and at the end of the day, it's about being that person, being that image, and like you said, want to be remembered for just positive impact, always being the best version of yourself, just always grinding for more, taking the risk. At the end of the day, your potential is, you know, directly correlated to the risks you're willing to take, you know, essentially that quote. But other than that, I mean, I think that, it was a awesome message, you know.
Yeah, we touched on a lot of things today, man. I appreciate you having me on here. I appreciate the opportunity to connect. Riley and I haven't seen each other in a while, so it's always nice to connect with like-minded people. And you know, you nailed it, man. You mentioned you had a lot of good questions, and we touched on a lot of things. You know, my overall message is pretty clear, and what I want you to take away from all of this is just hopefully my message and my journey is inspiring, and I motivate you to start something new, start your fitness journey, start better eating habits, just I hope that whatever you took away from what you gathered here is just a positive experience. And yeah, man, glad I got to connect. I'm glad I got to share my message. And again, you can find all my work on my socials. I usually post pretty consistently about like what's going on in my life, whether it be lifestyle, fitness, family, or whatever. And yeah, I would love for the opportunity to connect with you guys out there. For those of you who are tuning in and listening, give me a follow, shoot me a message, say hello, and yeah, we'll look forward to crushing it and
Let's
and,
go.
and watching you crush it and
Let's go. Let's
seeing
go. Let's go.
seeing how we can positively impact this community and make change around here, because ultimately what we're doing is important.
Yeah, yeah.
We are helping people better themselves and become the best versions of themselves with healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
And it is training hard. It is being mindful about what you're eating. It is making sure you're prioritizing sleep. It is all of these things that go into helping you become the most ideal version of yourself. And so wherever you're at out there, you might be a beginner or you might be fully in it. Again, I hope my message and I hope our little interview today was able to connect and inspire and to motivate you guys. So I appreciate it.
Brad Becca.
My man.
Let's go.
Thank you.
Have a good one.